two of the pieces I did. I don't know. I think a lot of people tell me what my style is. Like I just try to draw, make it look hot, try to make it look as good as possible. So I don't like Tracy. I don't like to box myself into any one particular style. I don't even know if I got a style, but hopefully people like it. But the first one I did was this was the first assignment Eric sent to me, and this was when he was like, have fun with it. Just go ahead and he sent the chapter to me. I read it. And for me, it's real important as a comic book fan. It's real important to me to tell a story. And a lot of people come to me and like, oh, I can draw. When can I start doing comics? I'm like, well, let me see your sequentials. I don't got sequentials. I do pinups. I was like, okay, well, you can't do comics then. You can't have pages with just pinups. You could, but that's like some early image days or something. But the thing for me is that I didn't go there. I didn't call you.
Stop hating on that man.
The thing for me is that I feel not only should you tell a story, but if you're going to be doing a novel, you're giving a chapter, you gotta try to encapsulate that whole chapter. So for me, I read it and I wanted to do. I like graphic images like Hellboy covers, like Mike Miller, like the covers he do. I think are great. So I knew it was a villain in here that you can control Earth. I wanted to show Lexi because it is a Mexican book. And there was a little piece of a graviton in the wall too. So I threw it all together and did like a big jam piece, and you got a little piece of action with graviton using his hand, and a contrast of a huge graviton. And he's got a little flare and some bullets going on in the back, like bullets are falling, what's going on? So that's where and then a big Night Seeker, like it's about Night Seeker, so that's where it went. Then the second one was when Eric came to his senses, was like, no, Shawn, you got to do it this way, do it that way. Which is cool because he is the boss, and he laid it out for me pretty much and said, okay, I want to see this, I want to see that, and that's what I tried to capture. I think this was the war room, and this was a cool piece for me because it was straight up like he wanted action. It wasn't like I had to do like a montage type of thing. It was like an action piece. I think I messed up the sword. I think I messed the sword up. I gotta go back in and fix that. So ignore the sword. When you read the book, ignore the sword and look at everything else and tell me what you think. I think everything else I think is okay. But that's my little contribution. And then I was chosen to do the cover for the book. For the second one. But that's I appreciate that. Right? Thank you.
I'm a pretty typical comic book style. Sure. Be proud of it, man. Be proud of it. I did this in a couple hours because I got to draw something overnight, and this is like trying something. It's one of those phases where no matter how hard you try to draw, it's not happening until like a few hours in.
And the thing I like about you, Kat, is that to me this is the perfect example of showing somebody blossoming, because I think Kat is like 12 or something. It's he's a young guy, but immense talent. And when I first met him I met you last year in November at the Video Game Expo right here in the convention center. And he came in and was like, I want to draw. I love drawing and stuff like that. And he just started hanging out. And that's when he did that piece. And I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm just saying, like, I love the fact that it's so. I'm sorry. I'm just saying it's a perfect example of, even though he's saying that it's not his best. Like, to me, this is art in its purest form, because he just came up and was like, I want to draw, and then drew. Eric scooped him up, and you know what I mean. Like,
well, I even call the style a different style. I actually call it West Coast style. Everything he does, to me, it was more like a surf. Everything he does, if you've seen the sketchbooks, it's more like a surfer style, like a surfer style. I loved him. I said, you gotta draw me something for Night Seeker. That's he came up with that, and that's how I loved it. And it's just that working with all these different artists, all these different styles. Unfortunately, the other people are here from different parts of the country. It's just that they all came together and they seen a vision. They said, we see this novel going someplace. We want to be a part of this. And, we hope it goes somewhere where it actually drags us along with it. Because if it does become big, guess what? It gives them more work, because people are looking and say, oh, can this artist do such? Whereas you approach me now and say, look, I love your artist. Can you please, give them to me. I said, yeah, sure. I don't own my guys. You have free access, free roams to them. It's fine. But does anyone from the crowd? You guys have any questions at all? Yeah, please.
So how do you go about marketing?
Well, the marketing part, that's the fun part. If you're going self-published, which I did, your biggest market is the internet. It's pretty much basically free, which is great. If you do big splash advertising, big billboards, you better have a lot of cash in your account because it's way too much money. Unless you have a big publishing company behind you that supports you. The internet, word of mouth, a quality product, doing conventions, it's your advertisement. It's the way you get yourself out there in the marketplace. But don't be afraid to tell people about what you have, because a lot of writers, I've seen some decent work, but they don't advertise themselves. Even some artists, they have awesome work, but they don't say anything about themselves, and that's how they get missed by the marketplace.
You gotta submit stuff. You gotta put your stuff out there. Like Eric said, you gotta go to the shows. You really gotta go to the shows, and you gotta. If you're a writer, a lot of writers find it very hard to get themselves out because you can't come up to Marvel DC with a script of like, here, read it. You know what I'm saying? You gotta have an artist. You gotta do what Eric did. You gotta go to Artist Alley and actually sit and look at the artist, talk to the artist before you get them on your project. Because, it could be like a Jim Lee style person, but they could be a douche, you know what I'm saying? They could be late, they could be super slow. You never know. So when you want to go about that stuff, like Eric said, the internet is the perfect place. Any artists that are in here, writers or whatever, there's a site called DeviantArt.
Yes.
DeviantArt is like MySpace for artists. If anyone, an artist in here that even if they just do little stick figures, it's on DeviantArt. You know what I'm saying? So, like Eric said, put yourself out there, get on the internet, talk to people about it. Don't be ashamed. A lot of artists are very quiet people because a lot of artists are very emotional people. Their artists, their emotions, their heart and soul. But you gotta be able to talk. You know what I'm saying? When we were at the New York show, it was me, Blair, and Shawn, and we got interviewed. And I was forced, because I talked to every person that walked past the table. New York was a loud show. I had to talk super loud. You know what I'm saying? But us three, we were out there and we were just talking about ourselves, talking about the book, talking about the book. So you gotta, I guess I call it paying your dues. You know what I'm saying? To get yourself really out there, you gotta pay your dues. You gotta do some sketches for free. You know what I'm saying? You might have to do some work for free. Like, I'm glad Eric paid all of us, but if he would have, if he oh yeah. I did. It's nice too, probably more than y'all, but when it comes down to it, don't tell nobody, but when it came down to it, I would have done it for free. I would have done it for free because of the exposure. I'm sitting up here, there's hundreds of artists in Artist Alley right now. All these artists here are sitting at a panel. Regardless of whether there's 20 people in here or 2 people in here, we're at a panel, they're not. You know what I'm saying? Not saying that we're better, but this is exposure. Regardless of all it takes is one person to start the fire that turns into a buzz. It just takes one person to tell one other person, to tell one other person. So you can start as small as, handing out little flyers or something like that, or as big as putting up a big old banner in the sky and says I'm awesome. So,
And don't be afraid to take chances and risks, step outside the bounds. Everybody has like a set format that everybody's going to be following to go up. Nobody's going outside. You know what I mean? To test the water themselves, to do something different. So if you have a different idea, go with it. Don't be afraid of what nobody else says. What's inside.
And that's the thing about Eric is not even that it matters to me, but it matters to some people. The fact that Eric is African American male and his character is African American male, based off of his life to a certain extent, that he got powers. A lot of different things. Yeah. Well, but the fact that he's doing that in itself is going against the grain because, not that it's an unfortunate thing, but there's not a lot of African American or minorities represented in a very positive or in a big light in the comic industry or in the novel industry, even more than that. So with that being the case, Eric is, tread new, he's going a place, you know, I don't want to be cheesy, they both going where no man's on the floor, but he's doing that in a way while, you know, treading water for himself and other people behind him to do it and show them that, you know what, I can be an African American male and I can write this type of stuff and people can widely accept it. You know what I'm saying?